Everyone at Ontario Shores has been rising up to ensure the delivery of quality mental health care throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. Through Rising Up Conversations, we are proud to shine a light on individuals, teams, and disciplines who continue to go above and beyond to care for our patients and each other during these challenging times.
Welcome to Rising Up Conversations. My name is Daryl Mathers, and I'm with the Communications Department here at Ontario Shores. I'm pleased to be joined today with some of our dedicated professionals in outpatients, and we're here to talk about the great work that's been done at Ontario Shores for our people in the community during the pandemic, which is now going on 14 plus months. So I'm pleased to welcome Shawn Carter, Dylan Zambrano, Fatima, Tahir. Thank you all for being here today. So we're just going to start. Whoever wants to jump in, but just tell us a little bit about outpatients at Ontario Shores and what exactly that means, especially before the pandemic.
Yeah, so I'm happy to speak to that. So ICAP, and some people may not actually know what the acronym means, but it's our Integrated Community Access Program. And while that houses a lot of our outpatient services, it doesn't quite capture all of the outpatient services that Ontario Shores provides. So we have forensic outpatient services, we have geriatric outpatient services, we have adolescent outpatient services outside of ICAP. But yeah, I think it's helpful maybe to talk about what things look like pre-COVID because so much has changed. But essentially, the vast majority of our services were provided face-to-face. So we have different kind of buckets of services within ICAP, and one is our complex services. And most of those, so that would be like our ACT clinic, our psychosis clinic, homes for special care, those types of programs. Most of those services happened either on site, so like at one of our various locations, whether it be Newmarket or Peterborough, Lindsay, Whitby, or Oshawa, or the service is actually typically brought to them in the community, whether it be to their own home, to a group home, to kind of a long-term care setting. And most, like all of those services essentially were happening for the most part in person pre-pandemic. We then have this other bucket that are kind of our expert services, which are kind of our manualized psychotherapy clinics, which are two other folks are team members on those teams. And essentially what that bucket of services looks like is typically individual or group therapy. The way that was sort of carried out pre-pandemic was either in person, which was probably, I would say, 95% plus in person here at our main site at Ontario Shores. And the other 5% would have been through our kind of OTN invite or guest link service virtually. And then we have other kind of similar services like our prompt care clinic, kind of a one-time consult service that's provided, which again would have been up at our Durham Community Clinic, most of which happened in person. And then there's a number of other services that are such important parts of kind of the work that we do, whether it be our outpatient scheduling team, our telemedicine team, our central intake and crisis team, who are all kind of a part of that process. And I won't go too much into detail because I know that we're going to probably discuss it later, but so much has changed, not only for the people providing kind of direct support, but a ton has changed for kind of people who are in supportive roles in those clinics, like the ones I mentioned as well.
So with that, on that note, and talk about change. So with pandemic hits, you're talking about 95% of the services delivered in person. That's not possible anymore. So what do we do?
Yeah, so there's been almost a complete flip when we're looking at kind of those manualized psychotherapy clinics, I would say, where it's about 95% virtual. And then we obviously reserve for people who don't have access to technology or there might be kind of increased risk. We obviously find ways to support seeing them in person, but we've done really a huge flip. From a complex perspective, that's really it's been a real challenge, and I know we might be speaking to a few challenges later, so I'll speak in a bit more detail about that. But it's been difficult because there's a larger number of people who do who require face-to-face services, who don't have the option or the luxury of having often, it could be a cell phone or access to technology to even access their appointments and really benefit from that kind of face-to-face connection. But again, I can kind of elaborate a little bit more on that later. But in a nutshell, that's sort of what we had to do, and we had to do it on as you know, too, Daryl, we had to do that on a dime. Like we were given very, very short notice, but I'll kind of leave it at that.
Well, how were you guys able to do that? Like, what did it take from whether it's you guys or your team members or the organization? Like, how were you able to kind of adapt and change so quickly?
So I can definitely speak to that from our perspective. So I'm one of the social workers in the borderline personality self-regulation clinic. And so before the pandemic, we were working entirely online, where we would use our online video platform, or we were working entirely in person before we moved online. And then at that time, we were only using our online video platform very minimally. And before the pandemic really took a hit and many people started to work from home, our team had already started to try to figure out how could we move our programs entirely online. And so one of the things that we had actually done as a team is kind of strategize how we would be able to operate groups of up to 10 people in an online format. And so in that sense, we were kind of already one step ahead. And I believe it was a Friday that we worked on site last, and it was the next Monday that we were already operating our online programs for both our individual therapy and our group therapy. And so I think it's for this reason that we were able to just really transition very smoothly for both individual and groups, and experience little to no delays in any of our services. And I must say that it's, none of this could have been possible without the collaboration amongst our immediate team members, who really stepped up to this challenge and really worked together to cope with the stress of these very immediate changes, dealing with the kinks and the technology difficulties that we were experiencing along the way. And I think one of the things that we were really motivated by is how so many of our clients really depended on and have a need for consistency in their therapy, especially with this type of therapy that we deliver, DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. And so I think this was sort of our driving factor in being able to really maintain the services that we were offering. And I must give a huge shout out to the telemedicine staff as well, who had worked just diligently to ensure that, we had a smooth transition from in-person to online, and, doing what they can to limit any sort of technical difficulties that we experience, and also keeping us well informed when there were the occasional technical outages, and also informing us of best practices to really optimize the delivery of care in an online format.
You're talking about a lot of change in a short period of time. And a lot of things that are going on in society. We hope this continues on in the pandemic, or after the pandemic, or this was a good thing that came out of a really difficult situation. Have there been some positive things that have come out of this rapid period of change that we'd like to continue moving forward, or we can see the benefit of?
I can speak on that a little bit. One positive change that I've witnessed is really just a lot of people coming together and, becoming more aware and understanding of mental health. So mental health is a population that's super stigmatized. And I know a lot of our clients have expressed just a lot of difficulties with navigating the system or accessing supports. So definitely there's been a huge shift in awareness and understanding of different mental health diagnoses, because of the pandemic. So a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. That's led to a lot of different programs that we've supported. But definitely a lot of our clients are voicing that many people, like their family, their friends, are starting to reach out their workplaces and becoming more accommodating and understanding of mental health, because it is a part of our overall wellness. And it's helped to create a lot of different avenues to break some of these barriers and stigma when accessing services, especially psychotherapy, which we deliver at Ontario Shores, and different mental health treatment and services. And another really great change that's come out of this pandemic is just a lot of bottom-up advocacy approaches when thinking about everything going on around the world with the Black Lives Matter movement, the anti-Black racism movements. Our team in ICAP has really stepped up to figure out ways that we can use our voice as a collective to advocate for marginalized populations, for our clinicians and our clients who are racialized, especially individuals of the Black community. And, Dr. Patterson, Dr. Lane, Dr. David, and Andrea Lane helped to create this really amazing experience where it was a safe space and held this Black Lives Matter Sangha, where we were able to have really uncomfortable conversations to address police brutality, anti-Black racism, and just what we're doing as an organization at Ontario Shores. And through the Traumatic Stress Clinic, we've also tried to create some avenues of accountability and just curiosity to see what we're doing as an organization to demonstrate our allyship and to create more opportunities to have safe spaces to have these important conversations. So my hope is for us to keep using our voice as a collective to make some of these micro level changes that can, lead to different organizational and systemic avenues to have more of these conversations and address some of these really important issues.
Before the pandemic, Outpatients was, for those who aren't familiar, it's tucked away in an area of our hospital, not at the main entrance, at a secondary entrance. And we'd often hear like, don't forget about outpatients. And now you're even more isolated, so to speak, given the fact that, many of you are working offsite on a daily basis. For those who aren't able to walk down the hall or connect with outpatients, what would you like, whether it's people at Ontario Shores as a community, to know about the work that is done by the people in our outpatient program?
Oh, I can go first. I think a really important thing for individuals to know about some of the populations and people that we work with is just a lot of their courage and curiosity that it takes to invest in their mental health journey and their wellness. Taking into account the pandemic, a lot of them had the option to defer their treatment, or they had the option to, avoid, which is huge in the populations that we work with, especially at the Traumatic Stress Clinic. We work with individuals with PTSD or complex PTSD. So avoidance is a huge cornerstone of their diagnoses. So just the strength that it takes for them to keep investing in their mental health journey and wellness. And it's definitely allowed all of us to recognize just the different intersectionalities of the clients that we serve and some of the systemic challenges that might make it difficult for them to access services, and really appreciate their commitment to their healing process. And definitely that it's a transactional approach. Not only do our clients learn from us through just our supports that we offer, but we definitely learn through them as well. And I'm a big believer that they often teach us and give us a lot of knowledges and different learning through their stories, and having these shared experiences really help to humble us and just learn more ways that we can make mental health treatment more accessible.
And I might add to that we also work with many people whose symptoms are often minimized, their perceived weaknesses are often blown out of proportion, and their strengths are tend to be overlooked. And, many of these people that we work with can often be categorized as, people who are weak or unstable or incapable of coping with, the stressors of life. And what many people, tend to forget is that we, to realize is that, these people have undergone a great deal of adversity and misfortune. In many cases, much more than the average person. And so if you ask me, I think that the people that we work with are often some of the most resilient people that I know or that I've come across. And so, even though these clients that we work with are people who have mental health diagnoses, I think that they too, just as much as we have as Ontario Shore staff, have also risen up to the challenges that have come with this pandemic. Many of our clients have shown an incredible amount of resilience and have been really adaptive to this new way of living and this new way of receiving therapy, while balancing all of that with childcare demands, with the impacts of physical distancing when our clients are already feeling so isolated. And just other, pandemic-related stressors on top of having to persist with, several hours of individual and group therapy every week. And so, huge kudos to all of our patients, really, who have really demonstrated so much fortitude and courage throughout this whole process, and who have really been alongside us at Ontario Shores as we kind of adapt to this new way of service provision and this new way of life.
Well, thank you for all that you guys have done to adjust and change and adapt over the last year, and for being here today to share kind of your journey over the last year. Thank you.